We're introduced to a character named
Bird Fisher.
sitting to have her photograph taken at Locust Harbor High School. The photographer asks if she wants to take her scarf off.
You want to take that off?
A few of the other students elsewhere in the room start to giggle, and Bird refuses.
No, I'm gonna keep it on, thanks.
She's told to smile and makes a half-hearted attempt to do so. She seems glad when it's all over, quickly heading out. After school, she walks out alone, heading to her bike. She glances over at a boy, taking her camera out and snapping his picture. He suddenly notices her, and she turns and puts the camera away. Later on, we see her in an old antique store, tinkering with a pocket watch. Inside, she sees a black and white photo of what appears to be a dad and his young daughter. Bird smiles at it briefly before looking up, hearing the door to the shop open. In walks Tyler, her co-worker. His uncle owns the shop. Tyler gives Bird something he bought from a yard sale he just went to. It's a camera, a Polaroid camera. The camera. Bird instantly loves it. The case of the camera has the initials RJS carved into it. Bird looks it over and is amazed. Now, to test the camera and make sure it works, Bird takes a picture of Tyler, unknowingly dooming him to a horrible death. They get close to look at the pic as it begins to develop. Tyler goes to kiss Bird suddenly, and she backs away, freaked out, and leaves the shop quickly, cycling home without a helmet. Bird gets home quickly and props her bike up outside. She sees a father playing with his daughter and prepares to take a picture of that, but changes her mind. She heads inside, talking briefly to her mom, who tells her she picked up another shift at work and that they need the money. So she takes her scarf off, and now we see why she wears it. There's a visible scar on her neck, a big one at that. Oh no. She puts more film in the roll, as the dog's whimpering before her. Bird tells the dog it's okay. She sits back on her bed, lifting the camera, ready to take the picture. Please don't. She lifts that camera and the dog named Ned backs away. Well, thankfully, she never took that photo, as Casey, her best friend, abruptly appears in her room. Casey says that she's looking forward to college, which is only a year and a half yet to wait, which she's going away for, while Bird is doing some journalism like her dad. Casey tries to convince Bird to go to the party tonight, using the fact that Connor will be there as an added incentive. Connor's her crush, the guy she was creepily taking a picture of earlier that day. Bird says that she doesn't even like guys, and Casey replies that
Hey, a good butt's a good butt.
Bird tells her friends that others in school are calling her Scarf Girl.
Look, it's Scarf Girl.
And Casey replies that the party will help people get to know Bird better. Bird tries to use the excuse that she hasn't got anything to wear, but Casey already has that covered, bringing out a Little Red Riding Hood costume. It's Halloween, and it's a costume party. Fun times. Bird doesn't like it, but Casey managed to convince her to leave her house, and the two of them get into a car. Then we're introduced to Mina and Devin in the front seats. They're arguing again because someone, Devin, forgot their anniversary. He kisses Mina and they laugh it off. Now in the back seat, after briefly checking the mirror to make sure her scarf is hiding her neck properly, Bird checks the photo she took of Tyler earlier that day. She sees what appears to be a smudge on the picture, but it's hard to see clearly in the car.
Hit it!
And they drive off to the party. Yeah, he's a dead man. Back at the antique shop, Tyler's looking at photos using an old projector. He sees a shadow, grabbing a hammer and moving quietly towards the wall. He pulls that sheet back. Nothing there. Tyler goes back to examine the projector as it continues running through photos. Maybe there's a smudge on the lens. He looks back around, seeing that sheet behind him is now hovering in the air. Its light turning red. Rest in peace, Tyler. Now elsewhere, Bird and the others arrive at the party. Casey's excited. Bird is still a bit unsure. They meet one of Casey's friends, Avery, who seems unsure at Bird's presence. Devin and Mina get the lover card, and Bird gets the unnamed card with the picture of a red skeleton. Bird notices another figure watching her, a figure in a mask. Well, creeped out by that obvious staring, she walks away, but is later found by him when she's heading upstairs. The guy takes his mask off and Bird sees it's Connor, her crush. He's asking how the picture turned out. Bird tells him that she wasn't taking his picture, and that she was just testing the camera. He spots the camera she's carrying and asks what it is. She shows him, explaining where she got it at the antique store and gushing over it a little more. David and Mina pop up saying they should all get a group photo. But Bird says that she's better behind the camera. So, Devin, Mina, and maybe soon-to-be-dead Connor get close for a photo. Just as Bird takes that picture, Casey rushes in, photo bombing. The flash goes off, and Bird notices a shadow behind Connor. Rest in peace, Connor. Then they all gather behind Bird to see that photo develop. The others wander off to do their own things, Connor too. Bird then talks to Avery, who's criticizing the camera, calling it an accordion. She snaps a picture of herself before heading downstairs. The police arrive, and Bird's taken down to the station. At the station, it's dark and empty. A man who calls himself Sheriff Pembroke introduces himself to her. Bird's asked about Tyler, if she knows him. She's then informed of Tyler's death and reacts with stage 1 of grief, denial.
No, I was just with him. He was fine.
The sheriff then asks if she is Doug Fitcher's daughter, saying he was at the scene of the accident and that she was a very brave girl. Standing alone outside now, her mom wraps a blanket around her shoulders, offering her support, but Bird doesn't want to talk about it, though says how it doesn't seem fair.
Why would someone do this?
Apparently they think it was a murder. Well, I guess it kinda was. Later, Bird sits in her room, in the darkened silence, looking at the photo she took of Tyler. She notices the shadow behind him is now gone. Looking at the other Polaroid photos, the shadow has now appeared behind Avery. Ooh, it's spooky. Bird rubs at the picture, thinking it might be a smudge, and she gets her phone, thinking of calling Avery. What are you gonna tell her? Well, nothing apparently, because Bird changes her mind, instead turning the light off and going to bed. Back at Avery's house, Avery is home alone, wandering about and getting jump scared by a fake skeleton. Alright, no, that one got me too. Avery begins to hear thuds above her, floorboards creaking. She begins to call out in the dark.
Hello?
Well, she's scared by one of the skeletons jumping out at her. This is somewhere in between horror and comedy. The thing, whatever's doing the haunting, grabs Avery with its creepy hands. Now, the next morning, Bird gets a call from Casey, who tells her that Avery fell down the stairs and that she's dead. She goes to her room and looks through those photos, noticing the shadow behind Avery is gone, and now it's behind Connor in a different picture. She tries to break that camera, but a shockwave throws her back and the camera is just fine. The next day in school, Bird tells Casey, Devin, and Mina of her suspicions. She shows them the pics, saying the mark in the photo is a shadow and not a smudge. As she's talking, Connor comes over to sit with them, listening silently. The others are skeptical. Bird tells them that she thinks if you take someone's photo with the camera, you die. Devin takes one of the photos, setting fire to it. No photo, no scary ghost. Or so he thinks. As the photo's burning, Mina's arm begins to smoke. She's at the bottom left of the photo that's burning, the one closest to the fire. Her arm fully sets alight, and Connor grabs a fire extinguisher trying to save her, but it's not working. As the photo is dropped, it continues to burn. Casey, next in line to the fire, begins to see her own body smoking as well. Bird runs to the photo, frantically putting out the fire with her sleeve. The fire on Mina's arm abruptly vanishes, and she continues to cry. The photo repairs itself, and Mina's taken to the hospital. The others are sitting around a small table, huddled together, discussing what the heck they should do. A nurse comes in to tell Devin that Mina's out of surgery and that he can see her now. But before he goes, Devin tells Bird to fix the problem.
Figure this out, Bird.
Connor's asking Bird where she got that camera, and she replies that Tyler got it in a yard sale. Bird mentions it came with a case, and Casey asks her where it is.
Well, where's the case?
So Connor and Bird drive to the old antique store where Tyler died. Bird goes to get the case alone while Connor's waiting in the car, hoping he doesn't die. It's dark inside, like really dark. And she finds a conveniently placed torch and begins to look around, and Bird finds Tyler's blood. Back in the car where Connor's waiting alone, the camera beside him begins making those whirring noises. So he picks it up. What are you doing? He stares at it a little longer before snapping it shut and putting it back on the seat beside him. Inside, Bird sees the hostile entity. Running from it, she's climbing back out of the vent in panic, but her scarf gets caught, and she begins to get strangled, though Connor shows up to help her, and they run back to the car. Bird's asking why it's coming after her, and Connor tells her that's because she is in the photo after all. You see, in that group photo of them, she's vaguely seen in a reflection holding that camera. In the hospital, Mina's woken up. She sees Devin by her side, who tells her that her parents know what has happened and that they're flying back to see her. Then the electricity begins to crackle, and we see on the monitor Mina's heart skips a beat. Devin kisses her briefly, telling her he'll be right back. Mina's left alone in a creepy room while Devin's wandering creepy halls. Mina's phone begins to buzz, and she warily answers it. It's Bird. She tells him that they're in danger. Mina tries to leave the room but is still attached to some medical equipment. She's calling out for help while Devin elsewhere walks behind the desk to find someone. But a nurse finds Devin first, and the ghost finds Mina. By the time Devin gets back to the room, it's dark and Mina's gone. Devin follows the trail of blood, pulling back the curtain to find nothing at first. Mina's found dead. Devin's trying to tell the cop, taking the statement that she didn't end herself, and acts hostile towards Bird when she tells him she's sorry. Well, he blames her. Bird leaves and Connor goes after her. He finds her sitting alone and crying. He tries to tell her that Devin didn't mean what he said, but she's like he's right, blaming herself as well. Bird shows Connor a pocket watch, the one she was fixing earlier. The photo inside is of her and her father. And one night while driving Bird to a friend's house for a sleepover when she was 12, they got into an accident.
No, if you were here right now, we'd be trying to figure out the why.
Bird begins to examine the case, seemingly for the first time. Inside, she sees a little piece of paper. It reads a case number, a date from 1974, and the word homicide. Together, Bird and Connor head to the library to begin some investigating. Bird finds some boxes of old newspapers, and she and Connor begin to look through them. She finds an article saying that in 1974, 3 kids were abducted and murdered in Locust Harbor. Roland Joseph Sable, matching with the initials RJS on the camera case. The man responsible for the abduction and slaughter was, get this, a photography teacher. He took pictures of the 3 kids he abducted before he killed them. He was shot and killed before he could be taken into custody. Now, shortly after this, the two share their findings with Devin and Casey, still at the hospital. Casey talks about cursed objects and how items absorb energy from their owners, and ghosts always have unfinished business. Devin and Connor begin to fight over the camera, accidentally taking another photo. Bird picks it up, staring at it as it begins to develop. It's a photo of Devin. The others see the shadow move to his photo. Devin's next. Sorry, man. Devin panics, lifting the camera and threatening to take a picture of one of the others, saying he doesn't want to be next.
I'm not gonna be next.
To stop him, Casey stabs the picture with a pencil, injuring Devin's hand. Devin lunges for her now. Devin then punches a security guard who tries to de-escalate the situation, quickly finding himself in jail. Well, now he's in danger of getting charged with a felony. Oh, and also death, because of the ghost. He's still next. Connor tries to defend him, telling the sheriff that Devin is not himself, as he just lost his girlfriend. Bird's trying to explain the situation to Pembroke, ghost and all, and this dude's not buying it, saying that they're making up these stories to deal with all that's happened recently. All the deaths, Tyler, Avery, Mina, and Devin. Oh wait, no, Devin's still alive, but for now. When Bird gets back into the car, where Connor's waiting for her, she gets a call from Casey, still digging for info. Well, Casey tells Bird that she found Roland's wife, the man who owned the camera, and Bird and Connor go to that house to investigate. While Devin continues to sit in that cell, Bird and Connor rock up to the house. They meet with the wife. Bird tells her about the camera, pointing to the case with the initials on it. They find out that those initials don't stand for Roland Joseph, but Rebecca Jane, their daughter. And the entity makes an appearance at the police station as all that's going on. We got the electricity starting to crackle before going out, leaving Devin in the dark. He starts to get scared as something with creepily long fingers, as seen on the glass, bangs on his door. He peers out, turning around upon hearing a voice. Devin's killed. Back at the ladies' home, Bird and Connor are invited into the house and shown the old room of Rebecca. Bird's asking what happened to her.
That is the part of the story
no one ever talks about.
The old woman talks about her daughter. Rebecca loved that camera when she got it as a gift. She would take it everywhere, and the other kids at school would tease her for it. Now one day, 4 students took her camera and took some horrible pics of Rebecca, sharing them around school the next day. And Lena tells them that this eventually led to Rebecca ending her own life. Lena goes on to explain that Roland saw the photos and became obsessed with punishing those kids for their cruelty, wanting to make them suffer. So he did. He became a killer, ending the lives of 3 of the 4 students he kidnapped. He died holding that camera that belonged to his daughter. The police confiscated the pictures, but Lena held on to one, the picture of the surviving kid involved. The electricity in the house begins to crackle, and Connor takes out the pics from his jacket looking at him. He sees the shadow has moved from Devin to behind himself. Well, Connor's next. Meanwhile, Bert and Connor, by looking through old school files, identify the face in the photo as Sheriff Pembroke, the one they talked to before. A shadow appears behind him, but it's not a ghost. Instead, it's the sheriff.
What are you doing here?
He tells them that they're breaking and entering, and we see Casey behind him, handcuffed. Well, Connor takes Pembroke's picture, and the sheriff smacks the camera to the ground. Pembroke explains that they got it all wrong, and that they didn't take those photos of Rebecca. Her father did, and that he came after them to stop the secret coming out. Unable to deal with the guilt, Rebecca took her own life.
Rebecca killed herself after the murders.
The ghost shows up, lifting the pic taken of Pembroke and, tearing it in half. Well, that dude dies a horrible death. The ghost, or zombie, of the father, Roland, attacks Casey, but turns on Connor when he shoots him. Bullets don't stop him. They run in opposite directions. Connor one way, Bert and Casey the other. Roland's chasing Bert and Casey, who hide in the showers, using the head from the water to protect themselves. The water burns Roland. Bert goes to find Connor while Casey stays put, protected by the hot water. Bert finds Connor, and she comes up with a plan. They get out of their hiding spot, finding the camera and taking Roland to a place where he can be fully formed. Just as they pick up the camera, it finds him. Connor's dragged away screaming. Bert takes a snap of herself, and the entity drops Connor, heading for her instead. Well, she runs, the creepy wheezing entity following behind her. Bert finds the dark room, the place where the photos are developed. She's grabbed by Roland, but takes a picture of him before he can kill her. Bert now holds the photo in her hand. She scrunches the photo up, breaking 2 of her fingers in the process, which appeared in the photo. As she releases it, it unfolds. So she burns it, ending him for good. Casey and Connor find Bert and they all embrace. Bert looks at the photo of them all together and see that he's gone. They sit together on the steps, exhausted. Bert throws that camera in the ocean, and the remaining 3, Connor included, are safe. Thanks for chilling with us on Polaroid, released in 2019 based on the 2015 short film of the same name. So thanks for chilling with us on this. As always, till next time.